Welcome to the reading for the 28th of October. I just did the thought for the day, and it's actually from Ronald Reagan, and it's worth repeating here in case you don't watch one of my other channels. And he says, there are no limits to growth. Why? Because there are no limits to human intelligence, imagination, and wonder. There are no great limits to growth because there are no limits to human intelligence, imagination, and wonder. Ronald Reagan. And that really fits right in with our philosophy, the philosophy of science of mind, unity, divine science, new thought in general. With that, let's get on with the reading called Something Transcendent. And the first quote is from Oswald W. Jefferson. I tried to look him up, and I don't know. I could probably find out more if I asked Reverend Jesse, but I tried various ways to figure out who or what he was. Nothing came up. However, the important thing is, what did he say? He said, in responding to the divine, no one loses the image of oneself. It is transfigured from a mere self-image into a divine likeness. In responding to the divine, no one loses the image of oneself. It is transfigured from a mere self-image into a divine likeness. Oswald W. Jefferson. And Ernest Holmes in Ideas of Power, we've seen that before, Ideas of Power, published 32 years after he died in 1992. So this is what Ernest Holmes says. He says, we must start right here. I must be happy. I must find a reason for being happy. I must know that while there appear to be out there things that make me unhappy, fortunately, I can change them, because finally there shall come to me no kernel of good, but the grain I raised myself and ground and baked into the loaf of the bread of life, which I shall eat and share with you. We're so used today to just going to the store and buying bread of whatever kind it is, the white bread that I never eat, the firmer bread, which has got some kind of texture to it, but whatever it is, we're not used to thinking about how bread's made. So sometimes the ideas that Ernest Holmes and others from the early to middle part of the 20th century give us get lost on us, but I'm sure everybody knows that bread is baked, right? And it comes from grains of some sort. And then he says that if it were not, let's go back. He says, he's talking about nothing can make me happy, kind of outside of myself. And then he says, why? Why can I always decide to be happy? He says, if it weren't so, we would be checkerboards, a game of chance, and all of life would be a tragedy. And this we can attribute to the infinite and ineffable God, ground of all being, spirit, pick your own words. Then he says, a phrase you've heard a lot, can a person lift themselves by their bootstraps? They can, if they understand what they're doing. Conscious, definite treatment will work. There is something in you and in me that is transcendent of tragedy and sorrow and grief and loss, perennially springing from the innermost recesses of the unborn reality being born in us today. Okay, bear with it. This is the glory of our work. This power of what we do. This is the presence of the living spirit we adore. This is the song we sing. He's talking about spiritual mind treatment, affirmative prayer. As I said, that was from Ideas of Power. So what does all this mean? And Reverend Jesse says, this liberating teaching of ours, i.e. science of mind, religious science, unity, etc., has been called by some students the hardest thing that they've ever done. What is this paradox? Our liberation comes from our recognition of an inner presence, capital P, that has never seen us as anything less than the experience of reality it is having by means of us. The hard part is taking full responsibility for how we raise and grind our grain. so to speak. This is the careful stewardship of the song we sing, or interior awareness. So what does it mean to me? It means, in simple terms, I'm an expression of a limitless source, an infinite source, which I call God, what people call by different terms. And that presence is within me. So there is a spark of that divine life within me. And when I turn to that and I accept that, then I can use its power working through me. And I can indeed claim good for myself and for others. And that's what Reverend Jesse's calling this liberating teaching. Commonly called New Thought, which of course, as I've said many times, isn't New Thought at all. It's been around, well, we don't know how long, but certainly it was around in ancient Egyptian times. And it's been around in Greek times, like Greek philosophy. It's been present in different ways with shamans throughout, from the prehistoric times, from the Old Stone Age, the Paleolithic, right through to shamans of today, because they're employing the same idea but in different ways. So affirmative prayer, spiritual mind treatment, is the basis for everything we teach. Why? Because we believe that we're expressions of one source. We can use the power of that one source. And how do we do it? We do it by wrapping our thoughts and feelings around whatever it is that we want. We get the idea, the thought, we wrap feelings around it, and we hold that in our minds. And that then goes into the universal subjective, and it produces the results. And it will even bring my voice back to me today when I know it will. So there you are. And Reverend Jesse gives us the affirmation. He says, I now affirm there is nothing in me that can doubt this presence or limit the power of good in my life. So he's affirming that when negative thoughts and feelings come up, we have the power to just tell them to go away and to replace them with something else. And that's really the hard part about following a teaching that believes in affirmative prayer, spiritual mind treatment, that when stuff comes up, that doubts start to come in and move around, that you have to push those out and deny them and let them go and focus back on what it is you want and believe that what you want is happening. It's the power of your thought plus feeling which moves into the divine subjective and brings about the results. And when doubts come up, you cast them out. And when doubts come up again, you cast them out. It's kind of like when you're meditating and you think you're in a perfect place, and then all of a sudden something comes in. You forgot to do something. You forgot to say something to somebody. Oh, you need to do this. And what do? You refocus. That's all. And every time it happens, and it happens to all of us, you refocus. So the thoughts come by and you refocus. And it's the same thing here when you're doing spiritual mind treatment. Doubts come in, you cast them out, and you refocus. And that is the secret, is to keep refocusing, just believing. Belief, thought plus feeling. Look out for my colleagues, 2 colleagues tomorrow on Creative Life Spiritual Center's Facebook page. One is the Midweek Meditation by Danielle Johnson, one of our practitioners. And the other one is the Daily Reading in the Morning by Reverend Lisa Ryan, my colleague. And I will be back hopefully 5 o'clock tomorrow. So until next time, please take care of yourselves. I'm knowing the highest and best for each and every single person who is watching and listening to this. And I release that word into that divine law, calling it done with gratitude, and so it is. So, namaste.